is no place for the weak. By the power of Grayskull!
Welcome to Sip Films. In this video, we're diving into the movie Masters of the Universe. We'll discuss movie storyline and descending. We will also talk about movie cast and character. Moreover, we'll discuss movie reviews and its box office. So here we go. Master of the Universe has finally reached the global box office milestone. The second big screen live-action adaptation of Marvel's hugely iconic franchise follows the characters of Prince Adam. Also known he is man. The film sees him leave Earth to return to his home planet of Eternia and the battle the villainous Skeletor. After years in the development hell, the brand new Monsters of the Universe movie hit theater June 5, 2026. Per Variety, the movie added another $5.6 million from just over 2,500 theater on that weekend of release, giving it a domestic total of $56 million and a global return of the $101 million, passing the $100 million mark. However, this is the significantly drawn from the movie's $200 million budget. There is no question that hitting the $100 million is an important benchmark for any movie. But it is important to be noted that Masters of the Universe is one of the most expensive films ever made. For the movie to have only just cleared $100 million in that weekend in theater make for an underwhelming performance. There could be the number of reasons behind the movie box office boom status, such as an inflated budget between the $170 million to $200 million, and a disjointed marketing campaign that struggled to be captured the sort of tone that fans were expecting. However, it should be noted that the horror's dominance of the market is recent week. Another factor could that have been contributed to be the movie's poor return is its release as a summer blockbuster, competing against successful franchise movies like Toy Story 5, as well as Star Wars vehicle The Mandalorian and Grogu. Regardless, the movie muted performances and old demand only half of the long-term franchise, despite the fact that a sequel is reportedly in development. Despite Masters of the Universe's strong cast and Bumblebee director striking Knight clear love of the source material, the movie has failed to be resonate with audiences for many reasons, and it lacks the charm and goofiness of the original $1987 million. Willis is missing the thrilling action and immersive story required for the SWAT and sourcey genre. The one shade of the positively is that the original Masters of the Universe was also a box office flop, with a far smaller budget, but the film has since become a cult movie, and there is a hope that this movie can enjoy similar accolade in the future. The second week live action adaptations of Mattel's hugely iconic franchise follow the characters of Prince Adam, also known as His Man. The film sees him leave for out to be returned to his home planet of Eternia and battle the villainous Skeletor. After years in the development hell, the brand new Masters of the Universe movie hit theater June 5, 2026. Per Variety, the movie added another $5.6 million from just over 2,500 theater on that weekend, after release giving it a domestic total of $56 million and a global return of the $101 million gross, passing the $100 million mark. However, this is significantly down from the movie's $200 million budget. There is no question that hitting $100 million is an important benchmark for any movie. But it is reported to be noted that Masters of the Universe is one of the most expensive films ever made. For the movie to be have only just cleared $100 million on that weekend in theater make for an underwhelming performance. There could be a number of reasons behind a movie's box office boom status, such as an inflated budget between the $170 million to $200 million, and disjointed marketing campaign that struggled to be captured as sort of tone that fans were expecting. However, it should be noted that the horror's dominance. Another factor could have been contributed to be the movie's forward return is its release as a summer blockbuster, competing against successful franchise of movie like Toy Story 5, as well as Star Wars vehicle The Melodrome and Grogu. Regardless, the movie's muted performances could damage any hope of a long-term franchise, despite the fact that a sequel is reportedly in development. Despite Masters of the Universe's strong cast and Bumblebee director Travis Knight clear love of the source material, the movie has failed to be resonate with audiences for many reasons, and its lack the charm and goofiness of the original 1987 movie. Willis missing the thrilling action and immersive story required for its sword and sorcery genre. The one side of the positivity is that the original Master of the Universe was also a box office flop show with a far smaller budget, with a film has since become a cult movie. Master of the Universe is said to be to get a sequel despite only grossing $89 million at a worldwide box office, as its business model gives it a second chance to reach fans of the beloved 1980s action figure franchise and cartoon that the movie is based on. He-Man, the movie's protagonist, is played on screen by Nicole, is famous for his rousing battle cry of "I have the power," but his performances in the theater has been far from punchy. Masters of the Universe is where to be musical. It's where to be the top of the chart which is debuted at the end of the first week in June to a domestic haul of $29.4 million. Backrooms and Obsession, who do order no frill horror film, were not far behind Masters of the Universe. We're taking the $26 million and $25 million respectively. Theater typically $56 million. The movie initially seemed destined to have a happily ending, as audiences awarded in the impressive 87% on review, aggregated Rotten Tomato. A classic popcorn flick, it's with a visual and eye-catching action scene, and it prays there is no doubt that cinematographer enjoyed the movie. The reports suggest Travis Knight, Masters of the Universe, made just $54 million globally on debut weekend, a figure that, while not exactly fatal, would usually be considered a disappointment for a mainstream movie with a budget of more than $200 million. Were still this heavily confident Metatic on 1980 TV show arrived gaining the weight of a major studio, relaunched and a decade after pent-up nostalgia. On paper, at least, its bow looks like the birth of the cinematic universe, then the sort of expensive stumble from which some franchises never recover. So why then does everyone involved in this thing seem to be cheerful? Travis Knight and the entire cast and film, making Jim have delivered something truly special. Amazon's MGM's Kevin Wilson goes to be the variety. This opening is exactly the kind of critical fast moment that validate our holistic distribution strategy, building awareness and the engagement that carry well beyond the theoretical window. Meanwhile, Knight has been talking up the possibility of sequel. After the movie appeared to be introduced, he mentioned She-Ra in mid-credit scene. With every movie that I have made ever, I have always imagined where the characters go outside the bound of movie. Knight told a tech radio, "You want to be tell it's a self-contained story, and I think we have done for the movie. But there are things within the Whittler mythology that did not fit within that. The Sidra character was one of them. Adora is also a character that carries a lot of weight with her." He added, "A lot of people, myself included, loved her character, so I wanted to give a little nod to where that could go if we are given the opportunity to tell more stories." So far, so positive. Yet the real question is why data from the opening weekend suggests that nearly 40% of Masters of the Universe audiences were over 45, hinting that nostalgia for the original show probably fueled much of the film's relatively meager box office take. That does not bode well for the rest of the movie run, as it may well be that the core audiences have already seen it. Maybe in a world where streaming gained art studios and to be joint manufacturer, the sort of power once reserved for John Simpson and Jerry Bruckheimer, it does not really matter. Masters of the Universe was popular with audiences. Rotten Tomatoes 87% of fingers liked it, and Metal and Amazon have effectively revived a franchise that has not really been a big scene. Choppers were the coolest bike in town. Read a little deeper into B. Wilson's statement on the film's opening and you might wonder if that quote, that holistic distribution strategy, is really a boast about winning the cinema release, the streaming services and much of the ecosystem that follow. By the power of the grey skull, I have the power. It is not, but it does have the unmistakable ring of a man who controlled the castle gate. Once it hit prime, Amazon's algorithm will presumably place Masters of the Universes in front of just about everyone in the world who owns a TV. And by the time it roll around in a couple of years, we'll all be wondering how we ever did without Saga on a big screen for almost 4 decades. If box office no longer kill commercial movie. For anyone born after Masters of the Universe's dominance in the 1980s, it's impossible to be watched the new Masters of the Universe without thinking, who exactly is this for? The easy answer, and perhaps the most cynical, is that the Odysseys matter less than Mattel's desire to be sell more human toy, or at the very least to remind us that these were and are objectively great toys. There is a very good reason to be the star of the 80s cartoon looked like an action figure come to life because that's exactly what he meant was before he became the subject of a Saturday morning classic. And so amazing MGM's Masters of the Universe offer again to be the help to remind us that these characters also exist in the toy form. I mean, admittedly, it does find a way to do it, as its hero, Prince Adam, associate the variations of the Eternia with the silly nickname he gave them in his youth. When he united with them after years displaced in art, it's why they had the same childlike wonder. You are a man and you are mechanic. And yes, it can still be gringly. The links to be toy in action figure would be hovering in a corner of the screen if the film had premiered on Prime Video. After a big time jump which reintroduced Adam as a young man still dreaming of the Eternia. Masters does not waste much time reuniting him with a sword. From there, it's full speed ahead to the battle still raging on Eternia. Unlocking the power of the Grey Skull comes just as quickly to the hero. But gaining the muscle is really only half the battle for Adam. He finally has a tool to be free his planet from Skeletor evil forces. Adam's struggles are largely internal. He wants to be desperately to be the kind of man that his father, King Ranger, and his man at arms try to be raise him to be the beacon of Satan who take no prisoner and never fail to be the protect what's important to be him. But the prolific praise fail to be live up to be the those standard at every turn. He is attempt to be rescue Ranger from imprisonment and with the king's demise, and Adam is eventually imprisoned himself alongside everyone who stood against his Skeletor. Even when he realized his troop are for one lost battle, Skeletor shatters his word that he did believe to be the secure source of his threat. It takes a brief drive to be afterlife to realize that a sword is nothing more than a tool, the true vessel from the power, and explained by the all-knowing source is actually Adam himself. His empathy makes him the chosen one, and his reluctance to be fired, even when he is capable of winning, make him the ultimate leader. It was always a part of the core characters of the man that I fell in love with in the 80s night tells inwards. I mean, here was a guy who looked like the mold forward and action superhero was supposed to be the video, those and bludger, bolder shoulder, and those biceps that looked like glass him. He was absolutely jacked. Surprisingly, he remains of the 1980s cartoon is almost loud to put those muscles to use, at least as a first line of defense. Instead of the first thing he does being throwing a punch at a work look face, he was trying to find common ground. Night continued, he was talking about the kindness and empathy and talking to be one another. That was huge for the filmmakers who described himself in Inside as a sensitive, lonely kid watching him man solve his issue he knew where, gave Night a new model of him life to be up. This very notion that one could be the mighty and also empathetic, that one could be the strong and distant, it was very unusual, not trivial, it was a seismic thing. It was like discovering you could own bottle tank and not carry these things. I did not feel like they went to be together. Yet go carry together they do, as monsters of the universe reveal, where atoms come back to life. His status sword is a magically reflect, and he effortlessly defeats Skeletor. It's not the atom can't use his power for brutality. As he tells his adversary, I just prefer not to. And once he escaped that has virtue, not a flaw, he is more powerful than ever, freeing Eternia without breaking much of a spirit. That combination of kindness and strength was a critical component for night version of man. I felt like it's offered us an opportunity to talk about something that I think is worth discussing in our modern world and our society. The director says in an era that savagery and revenge is admittedly surprising when a film focuses on a hero talking a different path. In the years since he was at the top of his Z list, Kiman has been dismissed as a door power fantasy, but the soul of his story could not be further from it. There is no shortage of star power fueling this exploration. But children's blood and of bone has already faced its fair share of trouble, who previously served as an executive producer, even co-writing the script with Prince Badwood. Swell all ties with the production just 6 months before its release. What was meant for the upcoming adaptations remained to be seen, but it's safe to be said that Children of Blood and Bone might not hold up as a faithful reading for her legacy of trilogy. Its first trailer sport that claim in somewhere. The film clearly owes a lot to Black Panther visually. It's a fat most filmy, with a Prince Iman cut if some never else, and what Nigerian singer-songwriter producing an epic soundtrack. For the film, it clearly meant to follow in Black Panther's sonic footsteps too. Still, that's not a outright damning if children can establish a unique tone and style. We have only gotten a taste of this new fantasy world. So hopefully this film on the whole can rise above the security and stick the landing when it has theatre next year. If Black Panther proved anything, it's that audiences are hungry for this kind of storytelling for black actors specifically. He has so much unresolved survivor's guilt and the trauma from his Gain society that wiped out his people that it does actually push him in a direction that is not quite good. Told Entertainment Weekly, it makes him make some hasty choices that may or not be best for his partner and his friends and himself and the world. Aang will face an additional threat in the form of a bow and arrow wielding upstar, a non-bender with a gauge against the water. She is also searching for the mysterious source of power to tilt the scale of power away from Bender entirely. With theatre on both sides, the gang will have their hand full for the first time in a long time. The film's fresh animation style, which knows is this what even closer to be influences in Japanese anime, also has the entry with the stunning action sequences. In the first official trailer, we see Aang, his partner Katara, Jessica, and the earthbending servant of Danan flag their power proves in a new way. Avatar Aang, the last airbender, was made to be seen on the big screen. Originally, fans would have been reunited with a gang in theatre, but after the merger between the Paramount and Skydance, the film was quality and shuffled into the streaming. That was not the last of the Altos Drobel Elder. The film was stolen and leaked 4 months before its October release, which all but killed any anticipation for this new adventure. Many fans saw the film out on pirating site, citing its controversial move to be the Paramount Plus as reasons enough to be pirated. Even now, it gets a much trailer release date. It will now premiere on July 25. Dumping it on Paramount Plus feels like a waste. But now our hope is lost. As the film is premiered now, coincide with the San Telco, Paramount Skydance are offering fans to be chance to be cashed is a more critical setting. In addition to the panel at her, with the cast and crew, Avatar and The Last Airbender will screen on Friday, July 24 in Ballroom 20. There is a chance this exclusive premiere could pave the way for more theatrical screening. Paramount's guidance could be gauging interest in the big screen role. However, Modest is a variety film and its fan deserves now to be laid to be the honored team Avatar's work and comic could rekindle some hope of this incredible franchise. Slim as the chances might have been to be the seed of visual and sequel to be Avatar. The Last Airbenders on the big screen. Paramount's guidance are offering fans the opportunity to be catch Avatar Yang. The Last Airbender is a theater for 1 week only, while the film will still premiere on Paramount Plus on July 25. It's now getting a limited premiere in Los Angeles and New York City on Friday, July 24. Fans attending San Diego can also catch Avatar at exclusive fan screening that same day. These screenings are designed to be give Avatar a critical run that will make it eligible for major award down the line, hence the brevity and exclusivity. The downside is that most showing are already totally sold out, but there is a silver lining. Paramount may be testing the poster for wider engagement in theatre And there is no better way to be expressed demand that if selling out every showing for a week straight. Hopefully, this is mean the studio is listening to the film, as it could be just the beginning of a hard-won redemption for Avatar. It's been a rough few months for fans of the Avatar. The Last Airbenders Avatar, the long grating sequel that follows the adult member for the gang on a new adventure, has been in the work for a year and was always meant to be the premiere in theatre, right as it approached the finish line. However, it faced one major setback after another. After Paramount merged with Skydance, Avatar Aang was quickly rebranded as a streaming exclusive. The film leaked online shortly after that divisive change, forcing Paramount's Skydance to be the problem solved in a hurry. The studio bumped its release date up from October to July to be coincide with a Comics Con, stoking excitement with a hall panel and fan screening. That announcement was the first sign that Paramount might be reevaluating the choices that led it here. But Avatar Aang still deserves more than the consolation prizes. If all this controversy proves anything, is that the love for this franchise is stronger than ever. The Avatar saga once lived on the small screen, but Aang's return has become the kind of this cinematic event that's hard to be ignored. Avatar Aang should have been relegated to be the Paramount Plus, just as Netflix's left major money on the table by keeping K-pop Demon Hunter out of theater. So too is a Paramount wasting a great film's potential. Percy Jackson's The Olympian has always tried to be the definitive adaptations of Rick Riordan's massively popular Via series, and so far there's been a success season 1. Adapted in Charles' first book, The Lightning Thief, based on the original Greek myth of Perseus. By season 3, things change in a major way. Percy is growing up, his adventure are might have stake even ever. And most importantly, the story is now in uncharted water. It was my choice to behold away the Titan's curse, Percy says in the trailer while in an atlas-like pose. I knew the risk, but it needed to be the sacrifice myself to be saved the world. To save my friends, was it really a choice? Season 3 adopted the Titan's curse, which followed Percy as he must rescue the Annabeth and the goods items after they are abducted by the army of the crown. Unlike the previous season that have only dealt with the Greek god, we are now moving up to be the one deal with the Titan who came before the god. The teaser was debuted at Percy Jackson's panel at San Diego Comic Con. Percy Jackson's and the Olympians season is bucking an TV tradition by fast-tracking its production. While there were 2 years between the season 1 is release in the December 2023 and season 2 in December 2025. Season 3 is set to be the premiere in November 2025, meaning less than a year will have been passed, so forget a stranger. Things affect these child actors actually look like they are going appropriately. Season 3 is different from the previous one for more reasons than just a quick delivery. It's also the first Percy Jackson's book to be not have to stick Greek myth as a source material. As a result, we get a lot of world building in this book, including the introduction of a number of new characters, including the Nico the Angle and fan favorite the damaged son of Head, who become a major characters with his own spin-off series. These teasers are sure to be just a start for the rollout of season 3. And while we may be in an uncharted territory for the original story, it's sure to be just as faithful an adaptation as the previous 2 seasons. It may seem possible, but it looks like this show will find a way to be the author itself. If the 2000 gave us some of the best children's media of this century, then the 2010 spent a lot of time trying and failing to adapt them to the big screen. Nicholson Avatar, The Last Airbender, got a much dreaded live-action remake in 2010, as it the first book in the rich seminal Voyage series. Percy Jackson and Olympian. Those films brought livers a block back mark in their respective fandom, a sign of everything that should not be done with a beloved property. After 10 years, both franchises are trying to begin, and while Netflix's Avatar reboot is proving how hard it is to be the shake it habit. After 2 solid seasons, Percy Jackson and the Olympian has more than lived up to the expectation, and with a 3 book left in the mainline series to be adopted, the adventure of this title hero, played by the Walker Scobell, are only just beginning. Here's everything We know about the next season of the Percy Jackson from its potential release date to be the new character joining the fray. Yes, in fact, it's already well underway. Percy Jackson was renewed for a third season 2025. Percy Jackson's fans also get a surprise first look at the new season in the mid-credit series attached to their season 2. In it, Percy and his trusted friend, Annabeth leaves Sava Jaifer, are standing awkwardly together during a dance. After a beat of the silence, Annabeth takes Percy by the hand and heads him onto the dance floor. Their relationship will progress big time in season 3, and this first dance in just the top of the iceberg. Season 3 of Percy Jackson will be adopted a turtle book in Reoden series. The Titan Scars is a much darker chapter of the Percy adventure at Camp Half-Blood, our hero on a quest to be rescued. The missing Greek Eternia Annabeth disappearing during a routine recruitment mission gone. Every misses at set of rescue her, only to be captured by Atlas. Then Titans who hold up by the sky. Percy teams up with his best friend Grover, the recently resurrected Grace, the hunter of the Atrium, and two new, very powerful demigods to be uncovered yet another godly conspiracy and save their friend. As crowned the father of the Greek pantheon gains more power, Percy will also have to be reckoned with the great staring monsters and the beasts that were previously lost to time are returning to be wreak havoc on the mortal world. And there is also the matter of this great prophecy, which foretell the destruction of Olympus and is coming closer to be the fruition. As most of the Percy Jackson's cast emerge from the sea of the monsters unscattered, we can expect the following actor to be written in season 3. Walker Scobell as Percy Jackson, Lee Savage Jeffries as Annabeth Chase. The show host of the Greek god will be making a return in the season. As well expect some familiar faces in Sharon, Poseidon and R.S.'s Harms and Anita Andrea and Katie MC Cannon. The Titan's cast introduces a whole lot of fan favorite, but one that look fans are still clamoring to see has yet to be recast in the Percy Jackson. That's Rachel Elizabeth, the eccentric mortal who becomes instrumental to be Percy's adventure in future book. She has a very small part to play in the Titan curse. It's hard to be imagined this story unfolding without even an introduction to the character. That said, Rick Roden, who serves as a producer on the show, might have cast out on any appearances from Rachel in Percy Jackson season 3. Riordan spoke that about a long stake of the casting an actress to be play Rachel in a Q&A on Goodreads. Even in the book Titan Scars, Rachel's one scene is a blink and you miss it cameo. To cast a cameo in the show is one thing. To cast a cameo for an actor in one season and then hope you can get some actor for a guest star or some other level of participation a years later. In the next season can be really tricky and complicated with schedule, contract, budget, etc. Rachel's cameo in the Titans Curse is not exactly bling, and you miss it. But sentiment skill can't make sense. The most of the Percy Jackson's cast is a compromise of young actor, most of whom are still growing might have been something to do with his hesitation too. If I have to be choose between getting a fantastic actor when they are actually needed for a lot of screen time, rather than screaming a cost to be cameo appearances one season and hoping it work out for future session. I would rather and do it right. The Odin added fans may have to be wait a while longer to see Rachel make ever is into live action but again. Odin dropped his undebated best screen for season 3. We're still being written to be there, a chance that a creative team found a way to make her cameo work. Ideally, Disney make the announcement sooner rather than the later. Season 3 got a green light before Season 2 had even premiered on Disney Plus and allowed the series to be shortened the gap between the seasons. As the battle for Olympus is finally truly heating up, the last thing anyone wants is another 2-year delay. Percy Jackson is finally finding its momentum. So let's hope it gets to keep the ball rolling. Sanjay and Paramount's scary movie did not let go its record this weekend with the best opening the Williams Brothers franchise has ever seen in the 26th history with a $55 million and even better. It marks the comedy Fear's return to the franchise after the original Scary Movie and Scary Movie 2. As we told you, along with the movie wraps a major comeback for pure comedies on the big screen. The best since 2014-2022 Jump Street and the best domestic star for a Paramount comedy ever. Ahead of doesn't turn Jacks at 3D. Mary makes fully financed this $30 million production. Sometime the co-owned Paramount Studios sell foreign to be raised fund on a pick. Amazon MGM Studio, Masters of the Universe, not so good, with $29.3 million for a pick that cost $170 million. Still, even with a Masters of the Universe and a great turnout by the Phantom, Entertainment's YouTube graced the amazing digital circus. The last act from directors Goose work and a score by the Alexander Brook. The overall weekend box office the second best post-COVID for weekend 22 with an year $183 million, 61% from a year ago per at North. Beams Rentrock head of the marketplace trend. Paul, the first $1 billion month for May for movie theater for the domestic box office since 2019 is on the book and he has created momentum for a June to be remembered at the multiplex. 2026 domestic box office year to be dared is about to be touched $4 billion now at $3.96 million, 13.3% ahead of its January 1 June 7 frame years ago. For more deep dive into the scary movie and Master of the Universe, go here. Saturday M update Paramount's Mary Makes Scary Movie got louder yesterday, taking its first day previous to be $24 million, a great thing on a night when there was a fiercest battle happening in Night 2 of the NBA final between the Knicks and the San Antonio Spurs. However, this is a huge comeback for comedy. You can point to the over success of Deadpool and the Wolverine. Barbie and the Bad Juices both covered by the brand and legacy modern and is generated graphic. When it was the last time a comedy, non-action comedy, mind you, unlike the last two Bad Boys prequel. Open to $50 million plus, try 2014 to 22 Jump Street at 52%. The reboot gets C plus, which is on par with Scary 4, but under the Series B, Cinema score had a height of the Scary Movie 2 and 3. The Michael Tyrd directed comedy gets a good 63% definite recommended screen engine red North post tracks exist. Screen are driving 26% of the 3-day gross. We are hearing that Scary Movie is taking off in France. Also know that the under 35 strong Ragnarok could also be lighter this weekend due to Scary Movie. That age demo is coming out to be Scary Movie at 75%. This is playing to the younger crowd. Exactly as Paramount intended to be the Hispanic and Latino moviegoers are leading in on Scary Movie at 40% and a very strong 66% definite recommend, followed by the 28% Black, 24% and 4% Asian American, 58% Goy, leaning with more than 25 at 40% women over 25 and 25.7%, men under 25 at 17%, and the best definite recommend at 68%. Paramount Motion Picture Global Marketing Caesar Josh and triggered the momentum here in a hysterical and hysterical social media and digital campaign that left millions in a subsidies. Purse, iSport, Amazon, MGM Studio, Master of the Universe outspent Paramount linear campaign on Scary. Amazon MGM Studios Masters of the Universe was later at $11.7 million previous first Friday, with the studio believing that there is still about $30 million, which is where tracking was. Other seat lower. We will see. Big gets a B cinema score and good 64% definite. Recommend for the journal Odysseys with a kid under 12 enjoying it at say 96% in the top 2 and a 57% wait see right away. Part of the push for this $170 million production was to spur another wave of the metal toy buying for the muscle man barbarian action figure line, which was just revived for the movie scene the Kevin Smith animated series a few years ago. IMAX and PLFS again wrapped 44% of the weekend. Pick is playing evenly across North America but best in the South, South Central, and Mountain region. AMC Burbank in LA is currently the Pig's top grossing side with a note of $47 million game. Masters of the Universe can't spot during the NBA. the Winter Olympic Sports Center, and LA City famous. Amazon's MGM Studio and Metal wanted a new generation to discover the movie. But kids under 12 only wrapped up 40% of the audiences last night, with the over 35 at 57% still dominant, and over 45 who grew up on the 1980s animated series at 36%. 68% guys with dads dude aunt Birmingham mom, 71% to be 29%, and yes, boys under 12 at 82% for ahead of girls at 18%. No $30 million domestic start for a $170 million production does not scream the power of the grey skull. But we will want to be see where He-Man and Friend have overseas tomorrow. As well as if Secure attract more family in the legs to beat all. The continued job proper is as far as the whole is focus feature obsession from YouTube content creator Kerry Barker, which needs a further outing, is not far behind the back room with a $24 million 9% again, the best fourth weekend ever for a horror movie, beating Blair Witch Project. Older 40 and a 50-something couple are finding this movie and leaving the theater in the battle of the sexist debate, much like the Gen Z and the millennial crowd it was catered for. Paytm Entertainment's The Amazing Digital Circus. The Last Act posted a $4.3 million second day. The Outlook in a $22 million over 4 days, $14 million over 3 days. Again, a record that start for the event cinema and theatrical re-release label. No cinema or post-track exists and but Rotten Tomato orange score is at a shelter 24%. Many come to be a Paytm event. Most of the time it's a theater marketing, no TV spot here. NBA Final Game 3 is not until Monday, so does not expect any impact on the rest of the weekend, and which is raking up an estimated $184 million, the second best result for a 23 weekend for years post-COVID. After 2022, $124 million or 64% over the same yearly June fame a year ago. Scary Movie 349 Theater Friday $24.7 million 3-day $46 million. Masters of the Universe's AMZ 3677 Theater Friday $11.7 million 3D $31 million. It's also a sitcom back moment of the Wayne's brother, as a franchise architect have been aware from its own IP following 2001 Scary Movie 2, blaming the damn dimension administration for not negotiating proper return for the comedy creator. Social media analytics groups spotted an online reach across TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and X of the $643 million for the sixth week in the comedy series. 2.7x above horror franchise norm with an aggressive push on new TikTok page in the last week, aggressive on Facebook and X, strong on YouTube and trotting well on Instagram. The scary cast has been around the block and are fully social and fully attractive, with a Marlon Wayne at a $23 million fan, Dagna Hall at a $6.7 million, Anna Faris, Anthony Anderson. Canva runs positive for Scary Movie 6 with a nostalgic doing a full victory lap in a ghost track mask. The crowd is hyped for Gindi Brenda, the Wayne energy horror comic cameo, and the return of the Dumb Road references heavy spoof comedy. Viewer keep comparing it to be Scream. Terry for MG Train can smell the super substance, long tails, spinner weapon, and even hot shot, which means the trailer is successfully selling itself. Disclosure Day, a sci-fi adventure from Steven Spielberg, opened to number 1 at the domestic box office with a $44 million from 382 Theatre. Those ticket sales were above estimated $55 million, below the $55 million the Evil Studio argue a film of this scale should earn in debut to be justified its price tag. Disclosure Day, one of the summer's biggest gamble, cost $150 million to produce and $80 million to be marketed. Since theatre keep about half of the revenue, Disclosure Day need to be earned about $300 million globally to be profitable. Critics' reviews are solid 81% on Rotten Tomatoes, while Odyssey score are mixed up B grade on Cinema score exists poll. So it's unclear how tickets sale for Disclosure will hold in the coming week. However, Spielberg's movie and TBD have significant box office staying power. His prior summer blockbuster, 2018's Ready Player One, opened to $41 million, ended up with a $137 million domestically, and $67 million worldwide. Says David Gross, who publishes the box office newsletter franchise. He knows that overseas audiences could contribute to the film critical longevity. Sci-fi thriller to be do well abroad. Those are visual stories that everyone understands. Spielberg, who have created a summer box office season with a jar in 1975 and the most commercial director of all time tends to be escapist blockbusters like E.T., Dexter, Jurassic Park, and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. Spielberg has more recently favored Prestige for Like the Post, West Side Story, and The Fable Limb. This scored the hottest of the score nomination but did not successfully introduce the prolific filmmaker to be the younger generation. That was reflected in the turnout for Disclosure, where 60% of the movie judges were 35 or older. Initial crowd were eager to be devised a twisty conspiracy thriller on the biggest and the brightest screen with a premium, large format representing a mighty 48% of grosses. Disclosure star Emily Blunt and O'Connor as a meteorologist and a cybersecurity expert who joined forces to expose the government cover-up for extraterrestrial life. Spielberg was one of the preeminent filmmakers in the history of this industry, says Universal's domestic distribution president Jim Orwell, noting that uses city directors as the main reason for wanting to do film. Is a kind of movie that audiences were going to be talking about for quite some time. It's a theatrical event that makes you think. Elsewhere, at the domestic box office last weekend, newcomer Paramount horror parody, Scary Movie, and Amazon MGM story adaptation. Masters of the Universes each suffered a brutal 70% decline in their sophomore outing. Scary Movie is slated to be the third place with a $14.5 million from 350 theater, bringing domestic ticket sales to be $84 million and $173 million worldwide despite a steep drop in the audience attendance. Scary Movie cost us $30 million to produce and is poised to be the financial reward. Masters of the Universe, on the other hand, will have a harder time justifying its mega price tag. The Sword and Planet Adventure dropped at number 5 with $8.6 million from 3677 location. It has earned just $45 million in North America and $84 million worldwide and against a nearly $200 million production budget. Will be rated as one of the year's biggest bombs. Masters of the Universe is based on the 80s metal tour and cartoon, and this kind of genre suggests the movie is not expanding beyond the core fan base of older male. Meanwhile, Obsessions continue to be the unprecedented business with a $90 million in its fifth weekend of release, 75% decline, and enough for second place on box office chart. What's more impressive is that the breakout horror hit, directed by the YouTube creator Cory Barker, had for 4 consecutive weekends that were larger than its already impressive $70 million debut. Now the low-budget Obsession. Backrooms and a horror sensation captured the number 4 spot with $12 million from 3404 venues in its third weekend. The film from a YouTube and Cannes person has grossed $160 million domestically. Meanwhile, Disney Star Wars, Melatonin and Google Cape flattering the box office. In a sixth place, the film brought in $4.7 million from two $680 million venues in a fourth voting. The space adventure, a spin-off of the popular Disney series The Mandalorian, is snapping up as a major theatrical dude with $165 million domestically and $315 million globally against the $165 million price tag. Another new release is the disaster parody Stop That Train opened in the ninth place with a $2 million from 161 location. Another new release is disaster parody Stop That Train opened in the ninth place with a $2 million from 161 location. The reviewed comedy from directors Adam Segman follows to be sworders who have to be saved the day when accused from threaten to derail a high-speed train. RuPaul lead a cast alongside several drag race favorites like the Ginger Minch and the Joji. We are very pleased with the aesthetic response from both fans of RuPaul Drag Race and the newcomer. I like the film's distributor Bleecker Street said in a statement, "We have had multiple sellout in major market and look forward to be continuing to take audiences nationwide on this hilarious ride." Right now, Hollywood is feeling optimistic because the domestic box office is 13% ahead of its last year. According to the trend track, what's more notable is the summer season is pacing just $80 million behind 2019. Avengers Endgame was commenting near all kind of record. Next weekend's top 25, which should be the summer first tentpole, to launch above $100 million could have to be close at gap. Then the Despicable Me spin-off Minions and Monsters, Christopher Nolan, The Odyssey and the Spider-Man brand new year. That coming opening that look to be keep bear bursting through the rest of the popcorn season. This is the one of the most usual in casting and unpredictable summer movie season. Says Ram Track head of the marketplace Rand Paul with a Toy Story, The Odyssey, Minions and Moses, Mona, and Spider-Man. When Tim Burton's Batman broke box office record in 1989, Hollywood decided that audiences were hungry for a movie featuring a pulp comic book character. This explains the existence of Dogman, Dick Tracy and Co. and Phantom in a Michael Bay's Transformer. Become a summer smash, Osborne plugged headfirst into the film production and made movies such as The Battleship and G.I. Joe The Rise of the Cobra. The last 2 weeks have seen the phenomenal box office performances of Black Room, an obsession to low-budget horror movie directed by the 20-something. Meanwhile, the audience for the Manchurians and Grugo seems to be shrinking by the day. Some would say that there is an overlap between the folk who were disappointed by that Star Wars film and those who will give Masters of the Universe a chance. Based on the He-Man character from the 1980s, whose adventures were previously turned out a commercially successful theatrical movie in 1987. Masters of the Universe has earned unexpected praise from critics as well as fans ahead of its opening this week. Somewhat surprisingly, the movie was not banned as many had anticipated. Instead, it's now sitting at a 66% score on the aggregator. Website Rotten Tomatoes where the consequences read, by the power of the grayscale and with a little help from itself is a practicing the script and separate cast. Masters of the Universe is a delightful adventure that finds the humanity in the man. The movie 88% audience score is a welcome sign for its future. Directed by the Travis Knight and Sting Nicole is in the lead role. The movie also features Camila Mendes as Bray and Idris Elba. Masters of the Universe added around $25 million from overseas market from a cumulative global about a less than $55 million against a reported budget of nearly $200 million. It would need to be the gross around the $400 million worldwide in order to be break-even. Amazon MGM domestic distribution chief Kevin Wilson noted they are measuring the film's success by other metrics, saying director Travis Knight and the entire cast and filmmaking team have delivered something truly special. And this opening is exactly the kind of critical first moment that validate our holistic distribution strategy, building awareness and engagement that will carry well beyond the theatrical window. I think it's safe to say that despite earning strong review from critics and winning over many fans, Masters of the Universe is significantly underperformed at the box office by the end of this weekend. For Amazon MGM, theatrical revenue is only part of the equation. Ultimately, the film is a distant for Prime Video, where audiences' engagement can be just as important as box office performances. If Masters of the Universe were to become a major streaming success, generating strong viewership number, social media buzz, and subscriber engagement, it could potentially revive discussion about a sequel. It would likely need to become a genuine streaming phenomenon, but stranger things have happened. Whether one of the biggest successes now is one and where the film will make its streaming debut. Amazon MGM recently gave Project Hell Mary a traditional premium VOD rollout before sending it to MGM Plus. Amazon could follow the playbook. It used to be read one of the move the film to Prime Video much sooner, potentially bypassing an extended premium VOD. An earlier streaming debut could maximize viewership and give the movie better grand chance of finding the larger audiences it failed to be attract theatrically. If that happened and the viewership show in a huge number, the possibility of a sequel become a little more realistic. If I were placing a bet, I still and say Monsters of the Universe 2 is unlikely. However, it's not quite as impossible as some headline would have you believe. Amazon MGM has different priorities than traditional studio, and streaming performances could ultimately play a larger role in determining the franchise's future than box office numbers alone. The movie was fairly well received by the critics, 24% on Rotten Tomato, and fans of the 80s cartoon seem to be have embarrassed it for the most part. But it may simply be a case of general audiences being apathetic about a big screen take on a 30-year-old property that has never really had a level of mass appeal as Star Wars, for example. Masters of the Universe has a reported production budget of $125 million. Some reckon it's closer to be $200 million, not factoring in the additional P&A cost. The hope is that positive word of mouth will benefit the PG-13 movie in the long run, but He-Man will face defeat this weekend as Scary Movie is certain to be claimed the number one spot with a $40 million with A24 background, coming in number 2 with a second weekend haul of $32 million, $37 million. Do you plan on seeing any of these movies this weekend? Let us know in the comment. In the classic Masters of the Universe's adventure, Adam He-Man could take on any threat encountered in the magical land of Eternia. No matter what baddies like Skeletor cooked up, He-Man could handle it. However, not even this metal icon could conquer his greatest for movie just adopted. He-Man returned to the multiplexes without Travis Knight, the actorial affair Masters of the Universe, which immediately cracketed in opening weekend, costing $170 million to make. Universe only grossed $29 million over its domestic box. Its $24 million introduction debut was similarly poor, suggesting the overseas audiences will not be able to be saved his one. This North American debut put Monsters of the Universe behind a domestic opening of infamous unperformances John Carter, The Day the Earth Stood Still, and Princess of Persia, The Sand of Time, coming in behind the domestic debut of Daddy's Home Show. It's not a great indicator of the profitability. For many top Masters of the Universe 2026 least surprising box office misfire, with countless reasons for its financial outcome that anyone could see coming from this away. Sad reasons suggest that a madrun and costly live-action take on Masters of the Universe was always destined for box office infamy. Not even the mighty proves of He-Man could save this movie from coming up short financially. Masters of the Universe is based largely on a 1980s filmation cartoon that appealed to be the youngsters back then. Eternia was one to be beloved at He-Man, sidekick or Coven showed up the alien. Takes in a video to be helped kids cobbled divorce, Amazon, MGM Studio, and other financial behind Travis Knight. Live action film adaptations clearly hoped that a new generation kids would fall in love with He-Man and friend. Those happen were obligated the moment the opening night box office data come in. Only 4% of the debut audiences were under the age of 12. This 2026 summertime title was resonating almost exclusively with nostalgic adult return to an edition of young film. While recent term of like the background movie blow everyone away at the box office. The 2020s have delivered many of the lowest grossing Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, with titles like the Thunderbolt, falling short of the expectations because of among the other problem. The international box office marketing significantly, shrinking big budget action film full of CG, and fan services just now are bringing up in 400 plus, meaning overseas anymore. Even non-MCU 2010 tentpole like the Terminator of Pacific Rim, grossing $300 million plus internationally gear, non-existent today. Budget ad would have been reasonable in 2017 or 2018, or a financial debt sentence in 2026. This reality really ended up biting Masters of the Universe, which cost $170 million to be produced. That figure was always daunting for a feature kicking off rather than continuing a franchise. For comparison, Sec 2007 Transformers cost $151 million while Spider-Man Far From Home was made for $160 million, still a decade before it debuted. Masters of the Universe might be had a shot at a nearly doubling That price tag with a likely $400 million worldwide grosses. In 2020, even MCU movies are hitting that mark globally anymore, leaving Masters of the Universe down even greater appeal claim to profitability. In September 2018, Mattel Film was launched as a division that could produce motion picture based on the properties, such as Masters of the Universe in the nearly decade since its launch. Only two films, Barbie and Masters of the Universe, have emerged from the label. The long history of the movie based on a toy that never happened. Speak to how difficult it is translating childhood fixture into the silver screen attraction. Motion picture based on toy have a mixed box office track record, which did not help a movie like Master of the Universe that needed all the break it could get. While several Transformers installment, the Lego Movie, and 2013 Barbie were box office smashes, they are major expectation to be the role. Snake Eyes, Dungeons and a Dragon, Honor Among Thieves, Maxwell, Battleship, Bats, and a movie Ugly Doll, Playmobil. The movie the list goes on. These financial failure had for a greater issue to contend with than some source material, but coming from the world of toys certainly did not help. While Middle Earth, Harry Potter, and the Disney live-action remake tend to do massive number, countless fantasy movies lacking these brand name. Just ask the various 21st century King Arthur film, Marshall, Earning Pan, and the countless other titles. The perception that they had previously capsized, Jack the Giant Slayer, and struck again with the Masters of the Universe. For many, sword and the sorcery material is either too old-fashioned or thematically inaccessible. The Says of Photo began, and Harry Potter are the exception that highlight how often fantasy movies come up shortly financially. Few actors in 2020 have had a fortune box office lock of Jared Leto. Everywhere this is Oscar-winning performer return. Financial turmoil followed this 21 crime drama The Little Thing flopping could at least be sticking up partially to its simultaneously HBO Max premiere and a few theaters open at a time. Every year 2020's Leto feature had no such exclusive Morbius. As late as October 25, Tron Ares bombed at the box office, solidifying the modern perception of Leto's box office power. Any motion picture that Leto headlined in 2010 new appeared destined for box office disaster. While Leto's name was not permanently featured in the movie advertising, his major presence in the film as Skeletor was still widely known and openly talked about in the pre-release interview. Thus, universes could not elude the bad luck that Leto connected movie have endured. As viewers will be able to be experiences the wonder of space for ourselves. Movies are a thing that can transport us there. Some convey the awe and wonder of other world and planet. Various others take a distinctly darker approach, portraying space as something to be feared, full things that humans should perhaps not meddle with. From a 1902 silent film about a moon to modern planet-hopping blockbuster, Bad Moon, the genre has something to do for everyone, with possibility almost as vast as the universal itself. While many of these films focus on people traveling to other planet, both real and fictional, or visiting from other worlds coming to Earth, others are much more grounded in reality, taking inspiration from real life event and space mission, with a whole galaxy of film to choose from. These are very best space movie. Based on the book of the same name by the Adam, this 2005 film adaptations of the Guide to the Galaxy certainly returned to be offbeat any British humor of the source material and boasts a stray cast that included Martin Freeman, Bill Nighy, and Sam Rockwell. The film's hero is Arthur Dent, who finds himself weeks away from Earth when an alien construction hero invades. At times, the film feels a little like a fever dream, and those unfamiliar with the tone of Adam book may feel themselves elected by the no makeup it feels. However, if you are a fan of stuff like Mandy Pattern, this film is a real threat and a planet closer to be some of the more serious space movie offering. As Peter Trevor in the review of Rolling Stone Put the items would be replaced. Following the incredible District 9 was no easy feat for director Neil Blomkamp, and while Elysium does not reach the height of that film, it's still one that is a water watch. Elysium continues some of the theme set out in the Blomkamp previous movie, particularly examining the idea of class inequality. Set in the year 12154, there are vast wealth division in humanity, with a mega rich living on a luxury space station called Elysium, and the rest living hand to be moved in what remain of that. The future hangs in the balancing as Max Acosta seeks to bring equality between the group, but secretly their God stand in his way as endeavor to be protect the prosperous population of Elysium. While the film performed well at the box office, Blomkamp himself and some regret about the script saying, "It may have been critically panned, but I am regretting tapped into exactly what makes space movies to be entertaining, focusing on a apocalyptic event, with Earth only hoping a team of the underdog. When an the size of Texas is one course to be destroy the world, NASA required a team of oil driller to drill a hole in the asteroid and the planet of bomb inside to break it apart. Heading up the team of the unlikely hero is blue-collar really Harry Stamper, a guy who rated and trained the astronaut in how to be drilled insists upon taking his own ragtag team into space to be complete a mission. Despite some staying critics review, including Stephen Hunter, for the Washington Rest so weird that it leaves no stone unturned in search for the perfect glitch. The film pulled in a huge number at the box office, making over $583 million worldwide. Armageddon was the highest grossing film of 1988 ahead of big hits such as Saving Private Ryan and Leonard Nimoy's Godzilla. Our fascination about whether life exists on other planets is frequently the subject of movie, like this underrated 2013 film, partially filmed in a found footage style. Europa Report follows a group of the Aztec embark on a mission on Europa, one of the moons of Jupiter, to search for sign of life using this swimming technique helped to be ground a film in a strikingly realistic way, as well as adding to the claustrophobic and the tense atmosphere. Space movies are not often praised for this sense of realism, but Europa Report was an exception to this, with Space.com saying it just might be the most realistic and harrowing depiction of space travel on the big screen in a year, without a major distributor behind it. The film had a limited release and even more limited box office taking, but it boasts an impressive refresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes with a critic such as Michael D, calling it risk-breathtaking and ultimately terrifying. Despite only running for one season, Joe's veteran sci-fi series proved to be a huge cult hit, with a passionate fan base who are still calling for its run. While veteran might not have been able to be get another season off the ground, he did manage to be get a backing of a future film as a continuation of the story, and 2005 Serenity Award is released. The film which also marked Whedon's future directorial debut. Of course, fans of The Firefly absolutely adored Sin Serenity, and it proved to be the making of Joss Whedon's directorial career, for better and for worse. As his next feature film was 2012, The Avenger. As a for the film itself, it follows in The Firefly, mold for making space like the landscape of the Will West Grange, dangerous and the untamed. Serenity was also favorably received by critics, with Nick Funnell of the Time Out saying, "The setting and then are hyperreal, yet the human behavior is grounded and credible. The moral conflict complex and involving." While the other space-themed disaster movie that came out in 1998 eventually drafted Deep Impact in the term of overall box office. Deep Impact is arguably the stronger film and is a hand of better opening weekend to be the counterpart, beating it by over $5 million in a movie and 1K million. While comedy is on course to be collide with the art with the consequences while a heroic team of is sent out to be the try and decommitted a comet in orbit. The film focuses more heavily on the human impact, as those on Earth face their possibly extinction. A decade after the originally Jumanji, Another board game based adventure arrived in the form of a space adventure, with a considerable advancement in the special effect from its jungle themed counterpart. Zatura tells the story of two brothers who are transported into space by a game that is discovered in their basement. As you might expect, the film follows a lot of the similar BL Jumanji, but it's a thrilling and fun film in their own right, with a surprisingly touching story about two biking siblings who eventually learn how to be play nice. With competition, Disney's latest animated film, Chicken Little and the Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, had a disappointing turnout at the box office. Despite this, the film was well received by the critics, including Desson Thompson for the Washington Post. Space frequently proved to be the terrifying backdrop for a film that finally towed the line between the sci-fi and horror. And one of the most nightmare-inducing examples of 1997 Event Horizon, when a spaceship that previously disappeared into a black hole come back into the orbit. A rescue crew is deployed to be investigate, unaware that something dark and sinister has found its way on board. Event Horizon was played by the Trouble production, and upon its release not only was it a box office flip, but it was about by the critics like the Jonathan for Chicago Reader, who called it a bias however in a similar trajectory to 1982 The Thing. It became a cult hit following its release on home video and has subsequently been re-released and is understated example of the genre. With a star cast and a Tim Burton at the break of his power, Mars Attack with the director's loving homage to the sci-fi movie proved to be the divisive upon its release date. However, a film that improved over time and is a cutting statical anti-establishment theme, Mendes remained surprisingly relevant. Based on the trading and a card series of the same name, Mars Attack sees odds of the little green more arrive on planet Earth. Will the first assembled prove where to be seen if their intentions are peaceful? Whether it's the aliens' hilarious way of speaking out of female fertile maiden girl with her ironic boyfriend billowing. Mars Attack is opaque with a movement that make it unlike any other alien invasion film you will see. While the unique and the zony nature of the film did not necessarily connect with the American audiences, it performed much better in Europe, cementing its status as a future cult classic. The mixed reaction of cinema or also reflected in the critical reception, with Empire Marks praising the film, calling it a greatly mad cop, serially sardonic and stare. Will Peters take the San Francisco Chronicle said it's a blow most of its inspired moment, with its main separated mentally. For a franchise built on a flogging try to be children, Masters of the Universe is better than it has a right to be. Particularly fun is watching critics due to so much shade on the entire enterprise, now so paddling backward into the light. I have not had so much campy fun with a film since I first saw Flash Gordon Black in the 80s. Masters of the Universe raises the stake by reflecting the original cartoon series and the controversies that are surrounded it. A particularly ridiculous moment sees his man gang of rebels standing a circle, hands on hip, and Siffy leaning back to despondently break into the forced laughter, as almost every episode of the cartoon series seemed to end. The plot focuses on the misadventure of Prince Adam escaping from the clutches of Skeletor and his region of Plug Aglis. After being told Sword has been found here for $300, Adam drives the car TV shop to be rescued from the hand of a display model. This sequence exemplifies the film's naughty, acknowledging as Adam must approach various men to ask if they are the ones who summoned a scene in which Adam stands beside a customer, both staring at an out-of-shot toy cabinet has a feel of being post-civilization. At the original date, I mentioned that Masters of the Universe has opened in month in America. Bryce with a long tradition of the Panchominence will take all this is the dear set right. After touching the sword, Adam is located by the Skeletor's Beastman and Teela after a protected fight on a freeway, during which all Dejacord drivers ran away. The trio returned to with Eternia to rouse the opposition and oust Skeletor from the throne of Castle Grayskull. Nicholas plays Adam He-Man as a goofy but likable limbo. It's no surprise to find his previous acting role, including teen drama. He is an easy on the eye, seemingly more suited to be being a model than I learned to be as a global fragrances ambassador for Emporio Armani, and everything made sense. He has the laid-back charm of a man who is entirely comfortable in his own body, and a lot of the audiences, male and female, seemed comfortable with it too. It put a dress as He-Man, and he has also a plenty. But the film asks, what kind of man he is a He-Man? To some extent in Euro for the looks maxing generation. But Shoma for the problematic gender politics, drug misuse and the faces bone breaking. But he does come across as something of an uncle, his love interest. Teela insisted they are friend and crucially will be friends forever. Fortunately, we are now treated to be a mock-up between He-Man and Skeletor. Jared led to the voice of Skeletor. No, I don't believe it was beneath a costume. But I may be wrong. Lad's line theory has been compared to be that of Tom Hardy. As Ben in The Dark Knight Rises, I hear that, but I feel Leto is just leaning into the push bread. As villain and his Skeletor is a good deal more comparable. The sporting cast managed to keep a straight face to end. Idris Elba as man at arm is kind of hard, but as hard as nail soldier to the core. Marina Memphis the role of the sorcerer, managing to be the awesome even in the form of the Kestrel. Comedian Sasha Samantha being a plausible villain need to be her role as Adam Bose in the HR from Wild Allison. But is just perfect as the villain is Evil Lyn. The story is constructed around and not at all discussed conflict. The status of Adam's father is a beheaded and on his father's death. Eternia itself is not even trying to be the plausible use of green screen. Castle Grayskull is decorated like an explosion in a crowd shop while the surrounding land is more fluorescent than forest. But it works our film keeps things believable enough so be not to be detract from the adventure. The same is true of the any Joe laugh out funny lines such as Skeletor admiring He-Man's big long sword dangling between your glorious tight are delivered with so much conviction I began to be doubt even hear them. Another example is Skeletor. You are but one beneath my feet. Man and Atma, he called us warm. The original He-Man and the Masters of the Universe cartoon. By affirmation was developed to be sold to be children in the wake of success of Star Wars much. It led to be children's TV becoming a wasteland of cartoon commercial. This was added by changes to be Federal Communication Commission regulations in America which had long since banned stories based on toy. The 1981's inauguration of Ronald Reagan as President of the United States has stated an already going shift on the VFS toward a more market-oriented stand. That said, companies were already developing character for the children's cartoon and toy market. These included a short lad Baxter, which was only turned into toy after the success of the He-Man toy line. Another potentially commercial cartoon was Thunder the Barbarian, with characters designed by the Jack Kirby. A much earlier failed attempt was the basis of Jack Kirby Marvel comic. The Eternal said I would have loved to be the have kept a Cassiel on my bedroom window ledge and a deviant in my back pocket. In the event, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe was the first syndicated show to be based on a toy and became the most popular syndicated problem with children's age to be 11. But its simplistic revision of the world into the hero and villains apparently on the basis of who was good looking and who looked ugly raised the ire of the parents certainly here in the UK. I remember a TV audience confronting some representative American cartoony who suggested, without irony, that surely every young girl aspired to be tall, beautiful and blonde. Mothers vocally disagreed. That comment really got to be the heart of the matter. Astonishingly, the new film actually addresses its issue. Why is Skeletor evil? Because he has a skull for a face was he built as a child. Don't be silly. All the toys are here, but nostalgically remembered by Adam, who has been trying them since childhood. He has also named a character. When Adam returned to be the Eternia, his gang of rebels are motivated to be learn that they are known by the name, such as Rayman, Manic, and Aphisto. The joke write themselves and none is left unsaid. I have no nostalgia, man, and the masters of the universe. The cartoon will bear the toxic debt of commercially exploiting children. That again is Manichae's ideology, which the word to be mutually exclusive. Gadget is good and evil. The latter is as unwelcome here as it is the Lord of the Ring and Star Wars. Children deserve better. However, Masters of Universes transcended all that ingenuity. Silly, exciting story. Seeing Dolph dispensing the incompassionate Jim Bro, advised to be Adam and Skeletor, turning up for Adam's workplace waiting on office chart, and vote your price of the admission alone. So go to the cinema. See the films and rescued from box office obscurity. You have the power. Let's face it, where we are Barbie girl living in a post-Barbie world in the wake of the massive success of Greta doll destruction of the doll. Metal quickly gained a light movie on just about every property in its catalog. Thomas the Tank Engine, Rogue Jam Shocking the Robot, you name it, is getting the big screen treatment. But Masters of the Universe is the first of this wave, and benefit of the having a story and lore better more. Attorney to be the four-quadrant blockbuster with its sword and sorcery fantasy and Star Wars. Inspire sci-fi touches. Even so, how do you adopt a toy line with a larger than life character like Rayman, Skeletor and the Evil Lyn to be the big screen without its being laughable? The Tag of Metal and director Travis Knight, great like a film, plus the admirable transformation spin-off. The have taken is a just to be glommed a property into the Ragnarok formula, lean into the 80s sketch while throwing in enough irrelevant joke and postmodern thinking at the audiences to be show they are not taking this to be seriously. Problem with that approach is a double-edged sword of power. When it works, it proves a rollicking underdog space the adventure. When it does not feel like it's ashamed of the one what it truly wants to be. Fittingly, that's the journey a young Prince Adam. All portray lives and a big muscle, cappy, bright month. Separated from the sword while in the trances. Adam spent the next 15 years searching for it, coursing through his manual HR job and the mundanity of life on earth. But soon he is reunited with the sword. Bad guys come looking for it, and his old friend Teela brings him back to be a united Eternia to be saved the realm and reclaim his legacy. To its credit, Masters of Universes lean from into the 80s here, metal aesthetic in some delightful way. Modern effects make Eternia look like a particularly glossy playset, and Richard sells a costume designed to their level best to be adopted various costume into something workable, while still ranking their cartoonish boldness. Daniel Trog greater heavy score. Credit to be the screen Brian May, Prince of the Universe, even plays over a big climatic battle. Keeps action changing along. As Adams almost feels like a Tom Hank in Big Arcade who does not quite know how to be handled, the hacking adult about his phone himself in. The costumes try to be the hard, well publicized physique in hulky bottom tone, but it's hard to take his Venus seriously when we can still see those pairs waking out. When he transforms, he fell out well, sure, but the actor feels adrift when next to be folk like Alba and Mendes, who know how to be celebrate the camp to be the appropriate setting. Which brings us to be Leto, who I hate to say it, in is incredible in this as actors been trying to be transition into an A-list movie star for quite some time. But I think role like this and Blade Runner 2049 bring out his innate diva in ways that actually serve those films well. Even to CGI and Skull, Leto brings out a welcome richness with splatter that javes well with the 80s conception as a pure villain. He pures with the team, like affect and cackle with devil's glee. He tried to be get his minion to be join him in his evil law. A late film and torture sequences places him in various novel contexts you have to be seen to be believed, but you will crack out at the same. If only the set of the film were as funny as he. As the narrator chases Butler, a fellow like a colleague of the night, alongside his knee, brothers who are originally slated to be the direct and earlier version of an adaptation. And across the Spider-Verses are David Struck at a mobile tone that feels like a comedy without saying anything funny. So many lines have the inflection of the humor, but contains no joke. So that happened level remark that feel like a placeholder for gigs that never got replaced. Some of it work. I love the touch that everyone's silly name Mancake is just to. Are the product of the traumatized 10-year-old who only have remembered his father army man. Like the ignorant middle mangover who comes up with a nickname for everyone at the office Christian Wing. Even voices a homerical battle, both sidekick here, and her characters barely registers as the interaction with feels well said but enormous among all the CJ flurry. It's funny really that Masters of the Universe is coming out smack dab at the start of the Pride Month. He-Man has long been cited as an arch-wealthy guy again, with his wrapped muscle and bone-edge harness making him look like if Canon Job Barbarian was drawn by Tom of Finland. His alter ego, Adam, was a foppish feminine man who always wore pink. His transformation felt akin to be coming out. There are no to be that subtext here. See the way Skeletor poured about Adam's muscle and his big shiny sword. But Naz Masters of the Universe is mostly a film about computing. You see, this is not your father's his man. He is a modern, sensitive, he is a being trained by the human sources. He is a constantly with the idea about the kind of strength and dominance a real man should execute. And he is eager to be reconciled them with the kind of guy he wants to be. That Masters of the Universe sees fly fit to be the challenge those ideas is an interesting wrinkle to be the formula. If only it had actually committed to be those wrinkles. As with any note of the sincerity in the piece, Knight and Co pull back to the comfort of a joke or a roll die. The script sees Adam's HR training as both a hidden strength and a nod, in so many words, toward his pacification if being empathetic is our answer. Why is the very approach crossed in the therapy speak and is a conflict our identity representatives that the film itself treat as joke. But much like Adam's Masters of the Universe is film of competing identity, it wants to be the crowd blazing the audience is musing, like having to be the toy line that metal clearly desire, while also avoiding the equation of taking the whole thing too seriously. In so doing, it's a film that tries to be served to master and doesn't have the power to really honor either. Before I dig former, like a false man, Travis Knight take on the Prince of the Eternia. I think the most interesting thing this movie represents does not have much to do with the movie at all. There is an interesting conversation that fear up every now and then, and I think we are in the middle of it again at the moment. Is a bad movie bad conversation and goes one or two way. It's a bad movie, but it's fun and I love it. Or it's a bad movie, but nothing. It's just bad. Most of the universe is aligning at a time when we seem to be having that conversation a lot. It's a kind of a coin flip as to be whether you like them in spite of relative lack of quality. It's a quick effect and intangible quality that has nothing to do with actual movie at all. Maybe you are a hardcore Nintendo fan and so long as all the characters from the game show up on screen. That's a blast and we are good. Or maybe you were the only kid at your school that had a saga and you are right on a damn Sonic. Then you don't have time for Mario or his galaxy and the movie just seemed bad. The point is it's a bad movie. But has nothing to do with the movie if it did. Then it would just be a bad movie. There is something interesting about this particular batch of movie too. Mario, Mortal Kombat, Manjo and now Masters of the Universe in addition to being alternative, which I just noticed have all been around for a long time. It's interesting to be have the Mandalorian coming from a franchise famous for creating in such a close proximity to be Masters of the Universe, a franchise famous for spinning off from a successful toy Then we are in a wave of fan services that's more is the usual. The term fan services gets thrown around sounding like it's a bad thing, and I don't think that is always fair. If there is an established fan base for something, by all means, give them what they want. The real challenge is us making it something anybody outside our gen fan base will give a damn about. But there's a one area where Masters of the Universe actually succeed admirably because the actor Knight and every other creator in front of and behind the camera seem to be the simultaneously loved man and realizes how stupid and I will continue putting off really thinking about the Masters of the Universe in a Masters of the Universe review. Here's a quick aside to say I am very aware that not every movie has to be the Godfather. Not every movie should be, nor should every movie be compared to be every other movie on the same scale. Least of all, the Godfather, the big takeaway here is that we will bring our whole slave to be the movie. Even those of who are lucky enough to be review them for a living man and he man. Why would go back? If my grade does not give me away, I was inspirable from my he man joy. Back when he was still just on the TV after school. Run at the Characters in 87 was probably my first experiences. It's a bad movie. I wasn't expecting none of the trailer were terribly inspiring, but I did hold out some hope specifically because of Travis Knight. His work with Laika, like Kobo and a Joe string is incredible. Some of my favorite stuff in fact. Bumblebee was a lot better than expected to be because he imbued that lovable yellow reboot alien with some humanity, which is a thing the director honed in all these years of going stop motion. And one of my favorite things about the movie is that if we're animated like most of things under the work, it would have been the same movie. The action and the physicality throughout the movie is solid. The fight scenes are vibrant and interesting. They don't reinvent any wheel, but they are just different looking enough from the rest of the action cinema latest offering to make things fun. A few sequences get overly CG and start to be feel a little empty, but by and large every time anybody kicks ass on screen, they really enjoy it. Adi Silva is particular as Duncan Man at Arm is a character built around his wedding. It feeds into his entire arc. His guy who has strongly held ideas of what it means to be a big strong man. Ideas that are put to be tested throughout the movie. What's a good gate about Jenkins as well as a head really? The one who get to be shown and changed as Prince Adam does not have to be nearly as far to travel and actually get to be the catalyst for the to be the change more often than he is the developing himself. Adam is more of an avatar for the theme of the film. That's a trend and a manhood is not about muscle as much as listening and empathy. Adam in time or not, found his way to be career in human resources, which is remarkably on the nose after ego for his version of human, but it worked more than it does not. He is portrayed as a kind who has not been grown up at all, living in a room with a wet wall prepared with a drawing from his childhood. That's the world he is stuck in, which is perfect and frankly well. Metaphor for the audience's movie like this are targeting. Elsewhere in the cast, Camila Mendes does not get as much to do in action department, but she's definitely got her moment. The rest of the hero of Eternia each have their own action figure specialty that keep the action choreography spicy, but their real purpose is to be comedic. There is a photo of me from the mid-90s when I was around age 5, standing on the hood of an old Plymouth in the overgrown field behind my childhood home. I am holding his man's shield in one hand is a sword, made of yellow, plastic in the other. I am also wearing an incredible hook shirt caught in the picture. I am grinning with a pride because I have thoroughly conquered the Jal poem. The vehicle never ends again, probably because I fucking destroyed it with my sword and a shield. Around that time, I also had a He-Man birthday cake and a sizable collection of medals, masters of the universe action figure. They were my first foray into the toys of this kind. Later replaced by G.I. Joe, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, and X-Men. However, my nostalgia for He-Man remains almost non-existent today, perhaps because looking back at the material, the mythology remains at once wide and unmemorable, and neither the popular animated series nor the 1987 film Masters of the Universe starring the doll and Frank hold up well. Over the years, metal has tried to be revived at all line and a cartoon, but the company's biggest effort thus far in a new feature from Amazon MGM Studio, which reportedly spent upward of $200 million on a blockbuster-sized Master of the Universe. If the 1980s version of this franchise unabashedly targeted the adolescent by their demographic, the new iteration has been the reconfigured as a sketch of the credited screenwriter. Adam Nay and to be adopted a more conventional mold. The movie also incorporated the last three decades of ironic reassessment of various very 1980s obsession while bugging Marseille. The Leonardo Center's costume, all of which look like the rejected design from Zardos the Valkyrie, between the man and several characters, including his nemesis Skeletor, and the eccentricities of the cartoon from the many had thrown back to be laughter to be the bizarre characters all which started first an action figure around which the writers built a lamb storyline. Despite its origin, Masters of the Universe sets out to become a four-quadrant feature appealing to be everyone, and in that no one in a particular. The story is to be blotted out little children, with a 142 minutes runtime that challenged the attention span of the kid in my perceiving who become restless after an hour. Admittedly, so did the material self-awareness and humor are not memorable enough to be distinguished if from other better examples in this genre, such as Dungeons and Dragon Honor, a movie that enjoy more than each subsequent viewing, and director Travis Knight can't decide whether the audience is about to take this character seriously or laugh at their inherent silliness. He attempts both and does neither very well. The result did not rekindle my nostalgia for his chapter for my childhood. It did not create an exciting new take of the audience of all ages neither. Our protected openings establishes the distant realm called Eternia, where Sword and a sandal hero stand alongside Reboot and flying ship with a laser gun. Eternia's resident baddies, Skeletor by Jared Leto doing and rolling. Once the sword of the power which imbues its will divide as to be might guess his power. But it escapes in a castle, a kind of ranger who is disappointed by his son. Adam at his Wilson hand, a young boy more interested in a goofing around than learning to be fight. When Skeletor attacks the castle and proves victorious, the Marina, the magically inclined protector, send Adam away to be the out along with the coveted sword. What happened to be done? Did a couple of the former adopt him, Superman, or did he grow up in a foster system? The writers ignore such practical questions, picking up the story years later, when the adult Adam, now a hawking Nico, work in a corporate human resources. After Adam finally located his sword, which was lost when he was transported from Eternia to Earth, he eventually found his way from the help of his childhood friend, Teela, to retake the Grey Skull, not main source of the inspiration, besides the cartoon and earlier movie, seems to be the similarly themed cult classic, Masters of the Universe's music feature, identical sounding Howard Black story guitar, riff and to be echoed the original song Queen wrote for the Flash Gordon. The production uses Queen's Prince of the Universe on the soundtrack in the other area. Knight directs a conventional franchise movie with choppily edited and CGI heavy battle scene full of the abnormous violence, lifeless chase sequences, digital backdrops resembling video, game environment and shameless product placement for Coca-Cola and Amazon. The VFX sometimes look impressive, and at the time, they look cheap and generic. Fortunately, Knight's production also offer practical effect and a prosthetic for some character. Most memorable dark cyborg top new Knight's secret weapon is costume designer Richard Sell, who visualizes the inherently absurd look of these characters for better or worse. Intangible garb. The actors inhabiting the excellent costume don't have much to do. Ask yourself why they hired Kristen Will to voice Roboto. A blend reboot characters whose dialogue could have easily been performed by anyone else, or even just replaced with a beep and boobs of Star Wars droid when you have Kristen Will use her. Elsewhere, Masters of the Universe attempt to be self-aware in its irony and sexually suggestive underpinning. There is a running gag about how practically everyone can't keep their eyes off Adam after he becomes his heroic after ego. He-Man gives a oiled up musical and blonde look, but under Adam's pink shot, he still looks baking his eventually hook his transformation into a muscle-born barbarian macabre elsewhere. I like the detail of the Adam growing up on Earth and forgetting everyone's name on Eternia. So he make up their name based on their physical characteristics. A man with a big metal and a become Festo, and another with a metal hat butting helmet becomes Ram Man. The writers take advantage of his well-built, well-dirty joke about fisting and a Rayman, giving her to be the Skeletor gone. That's about as clever as the movie gets. As for character development, there is almost none. Skeletor, for instance, wants to be bad for the sake of being bad. His motivations are non-existent, resulting in an obvious, uninteresting, and one-dimensional villain. A key series in the conservative Reagan era 1980s, The Master of the Universe cartoon and a previous movie, valued strength and power, muscle and might. Today, that message has negative, repressive association with the political right, which often look at this period for a fond standpoint to avoid alienating and part of the audiences. The filmmakers desperately try to please everyone with a mild progressive commentary to counter the franchise's original theme. Adam's character must learn to be the man, to please his father King Brancher, and his makeshift father figure, man and arm. Alba in a chummy reformed, but it is also a half-hearted message that Adam, having working in a human resources, knows the values of the empathy and emotional intelligence. For a while there, it's not just that the man himself is from the 80s that gives 2026 Masters of the Universe such an aggressive throwback vibe. Is that they're trying to be assembles a film around a absurd mythology of a toy and dusting off IP that previous few still care about feels like something Hollywood has slowly been doing its less of the especially on a scale such as this. This year these have been relied on either properties that audiences do have passion for Scream, Mario and a Devil Ear, radically original ideas. We have not enjoyed an underworld sequel or a dozen reboots since 2016. Our Terminator film since 2019, a Dolittle reboot since 2020, or G.I. Joe spin-off since 2021. Metal might then have been stuck gold, the Greta growing Barbie in 2023, but that was both an unconventional Azure led one off and a based on a product million we're still buying on the regular. The year before release, the brand made more than the 1.4 various directors from Johan who to be John and M2 have been loosely attached to He-Man movie over the year, and various studio, from Sony to Netflix's, have tried to be latest streamer having spent a reported $30 million on a failed attempt. But as with many long lasting projects in Hollywood, those involved forget to be remember Jeff Gobson's evergreen Jurassic Park land. So whether or not they could have, they did not stop to be think if they should. It turned out to be they really should not have. Amazon's had scratching to $100 million budgeted misfire failed to be explained why so much time, money and effort has been wasted on a movie based on a toy that kids just don't play with more. Even for those who used to be, I count myself among them. There's nothing here that's clever or funny or exciting enough to be explained why that amber light finally turned green. The story surrounding He-Man was always just an absurdly cobbled together justification for making and selling more action figure, and the film from Bumblebee's actor Travis Knight, a movie based on an old cartoon based on a toy about a character who brilliantly goes by the name He-Man, should not be taken too seriously. If you feel nostalgic about it, and I think it deserves respect. Imagine listening out a characters to be an unfamiliar fellow about adult and see how long it take you to feel embarrassed even if you get past them, man. Good luck. The presumably will director Travis Knight has taken a distinctively working approach to the self-styled. Our word prologue establishes the same. Oh, help hero Adams was once a prince of the magical land at a loyal family, and the sorcerers protected against the evil Joe like Scratcher. But when that bad guy attacked, the King James and his chief man at arms who aren't overwhelmed and Child Adam is sent through a portal to Beard. He instantly loses the magical sword that would allow him to be returned. 15 years later, he is a misunderstood cog in a corporate machine, but he finds he is a weapon at long last and immediately hunted by Scattergoon. His childhood friend Teela helped him escape home, where they must keep the weapon away from Skeletor and reach Castle Grayskull to Viva. It's not entirely clear. The result is a chase movie, with boy baddies determined to get his hand on Adam's sword and crush all opposition to be his role. The decision to make Adam helpless diffused a source of great comedy. Citizen sent himself off to the gamely that outside night and his cars got to be big stuff right. This will appeal to be the small kid with his bold color big character and ritual lack of deep truth how does which is our brain when he's the next suddenly and will appear to be adult who remember being small kid playing with action figure. Certainly it's vastly more fun than the misfiring the 1987 attempt and welcome proof that Hollywood has finally given up on making everything darker and more serious. In era where beloved franchises are constantly being rebooted, reimagined and repackaging bring Masters of the Universe back to the big screen was always going to be their daunting challenge. For many fans, Eternia is scared ground. Thankfully, directors at Travis Knight understand exactly what made a franchise special in the first place and delivered what may be to be most faithful, entertaining, and unapologetically fun adaptations fan could have hoped for. Masters of Universe introduces us once again to be Prince Adam, Prince of Eternia and the future defender of the secret of the castle Grayskull. Following a devastating attack led by the evil Skeletor, Adam is forced to be flee to Beard, taking with him to be legendary sword to be power. However, during his escape, the sword is lost, having stranded and obsessed with finding it for the next 15 years. When the sword finally resurfaces, Adam returns to be the Eternia, only to be discovered to be a ward in the ruin. Skeletor has seized control. The kingdom has fallen, and the fate of the universe rests on the whether Adam can embrace his destiny and become the champion he was born to be. What makes Master of Universe work so brilliantly is that Travis Knight never tried to be turned into something it does not. Rather than chasing dark realism or gritty revolution, he embraces the colorful adventure, larger than life spirit of the original cartoon. This is a film that remember Masters of the Universe was always about imaginations, heroism, our gorgeous villain, magical world, and the simple joy of good triumphing over evil. And for fans concerned that the film spanned too much time on it, rest assured there is nothing to be worried about. While art plays an important role in Adam's journey, it represents only a small portion of the story, with the overwhelming majority of the action taking place exactly where fans want it to be. The result is a thrilling spectacle, packed with the action, humor, heart, and enough fan service to be living lifelong fans gaining from year to year. And most importantly, remember that fantasy should be fun. The film proudly wears its 1980s road on its sleeve. From visual note to the classic filmation series to clever references to the 1987 live-action film starring Dolph and Frank, yet none of the feels forced. Every callback feels earned, rewarding long-term fan without alienating newcomer. Nicole proved an inspired choice for Prince Adam and He-Man. He perfectly captures Adam's youthful inconscience, awkwardness, and optimism while making his eventual transformation into the Eternia's greatest champion feel genuinely triumphant. Battle still embarrasses the character. Fan grew up with. The iconic pink attire is present. The familiar mannerisms are there. And yes, some of the He-Man's most beloved catchphrases make their glorious return. For fans who have waited decade to be here, then to be big again. Those moments hit harder than Battle Cat charging into the battle. Then there is Jared Leto. After a string of the divisive performances in series year, Leto finally found a role he was born to play. His character is theatrical, hilarious, menacing, ridiculous, and usually magnificent. Rather than a reinvention the character, Leto leans completely into the everything fan love about a lot of the destruction. The visual effects him deserves enormous credit of being Skeletor to be live. His iconic skull face retained enough expression to be delivered comedy, while never losing the sinister presence that made it making him one of animation's greatest villains. At times he feels genuinely threatening. At others he is laugh out and loud funny, striking that balance so easy feat. But the film nailed it. The supporting cast is equally impressive, bringing strength, intelligence, and charisma to detail, creating a character who feels both faithful to the original and refreshingly modern at his Alba is pitch perfect at man at arm, embodying the Duncan's wisdom and fatally presence while delivering some of the film's most crowd-pleasing moment. Morena radiates a mystical authority as a sorcerer, while Kringer, despite limited screen time, delivers exactly what fans will be go hoping for. And yes, he talk. The roster of heroic warriors is the treasure trove for fan. John Zhang's Rayman, James, Johan Hacker, Fisto, and the Kristen Wing. As a vice of Bojo all get opportunity to be shine, with each other retaining the charm and personality that made them a favorite decade ago. The villain are just as much fun. Alison Brie is as sensational as Evil Lyn, perfectly capturing the character, intelligence, sarcasm, and constant expressions with a sculpture and less theater. Same. Wilson's step jaw looked like he stepped directly out of a toy box and onto the screen, while Gray, Martin's based man, Kojo Addis, and Jim App, even Cog return, delightfully connecting this Remu universe to be 1987 film. And yes, die-hard fans can keep their eyes peeled for Big Boy as well. Someone clearly understand the assignment, what ultimately elevate the masters of the universe. Above being simply a nostalgia trip is a sincerity. We need action, spectacle, and endless Easter egg like a story about courage, responsibility, family, and hope. It captures the same spirit that inspired the countless children spitting cross legend in front of analog television on Saturday morning, carrier ball in the hand, watching the most powerful man in the universe while learning lessons about courage, friendship, and doing what's right. This is a film designed to be the experience with a crowd. It's for the adult who grew up with a man, the children discovering Eternia for the first time, and the families looking for a blockbuster adventure filled with excitement, laughter, and a genuine heart. By the time Adam races us for the power, and the audience is inevitably fight the urge to be shot along with him. Master of the Universe stars Nicole as Prince Adam. As a child, he was sent to be there to be escape the evil Skeletor, played by Jared Leto, who conquered the planet Eternia. Adam spent the last 15 years in the city and has in no way adapted to be the world around him. He still tells everyone from another planet and personally knows superhero named Ramman and Visto. At one point, he will find out Adam has a tropist who is presumably studying the work of the segment prior to be the Angel. All this symbolism. Adams can't return to be the Eternia until he finds a magic sword. Sword he finally finds inside a comic book shop, valued by a superhero status without looking suspiciously like a man. He soon finds himself back in Eternia, transformed into a shirtless, parentless Superman who fights monsters, rests with a bloody show, and gets over confused about the relationship between and the violence. Master of the Universe make more sense as a lonely man mental breakdown than a sci fantasy epic. The gag is that Adam is a fish out of water, an action hero who tried to be diffuses every conflict before he come to be face up. He always tried to be understand his enemy and second an olive branch. It literally never worked, not even once. Every problem in the mass of the universe is solved without violence, which should not be a problem for an action movie. Because action movies are usually comfortable with the idea that the violence is entertaining. Masters of the Universe claim out loud repeatedly that violence is bad, but offers no evidence to support his claim. This is a film where a guy shows a grand another guy's more to be the illustrate his character development. You can't have it both. This is a place where perhaps a human fan might argue it's just a big flashy action movie, so it does not need to be have a message which would be hilariously since man and a Masters of the Universe was literally famous for shortening messages into every single episode. Those messages might not be coherent either, but is a cop out to be written an incredibly sloppy screenplay of an emoji. Besides, even as a big flashy action movie. Masters of the Universe fall apart. It somehow managed to be look incredibly expensive and incredibly cheap at the same time. There are CG effects anywhere, but none of them look realistic or dazzling enough to be compensate for their fakeness. Other locations are stock sci-fi fantasy set dressing. They may be as well be completely but out of focus or the atmosphere they contribute. The costumes are practical and evoke the original action figure, but it also means there is a shiny and shanty. So nothing look lived in and nothing look cool. The original 1987 live-action Monsters of the Universe movie, for all its many flaws, had a more exciting of aesthetic. Then again, the original Masters of the Universe movie was to be despite of every contemporary human fan notoriously respectful of its source material. Oh yes, Masters of the Universe is there to be funny, it rarely succeed. Skeletor, played by the Alison Brie or Zoolander villain, who accidentally proved to be the wrong soundstage, there's are not fun as that probably make them sound worse or worse as the member of the joke. What he have done is a tried gag is a very context, but Master of the Universe runs it direct everyone bristles at a childish name, add a makeup for them, Ram, make neck, but none of them label have real name. So they have to be designated to be braced, but Deadly Kills is just single the premise that is a dead villain in a Masters of the Universe are really named Skeletor and Evil Lyn, which mean people in this world already had silly name to begin with, no pretending they don't make the film look embarrassed by its own source material, not respectful, not at all. There is not to be much recommend about Masters of the Universe. Nicole is a perfectly cast, although he is acting like he's a better, more focused movie about a hero struggling with a real inner crisis as opposed to be the doubt he's actually in. There is a sequences toward the end which as a later confront Adam about his personal feeling, which is enjoyable at or hint that it may somewhere in the development phase have been a clever version of the script that actually tackled in theme an embarrassed citizen version of the character instead of the hypocritically contracting itself. But I guess they decided to be make this version instead for some reasons. Whether it's working in animations or live action properties based on a popular toy. The actor Travis Knight seems to be aware that this adaptation requires a tightrope walk between the genuine affection of the source material, either through the characters of storyline from other span, wacky and should not be taken remotely, build real set, and utilizing the practical effect, costume, and makeup in a cinematic blockbuster's landscape that is far too be quick to cut corn through excessive CGI and green screen to the point that such spectacle no longer carries weight or impact. Perhaps the strongest example of this tone balance is handled correctly come from Jared performances as a skull-faced Skeletor. Essentially, Adam's Glenn means the nemesis, certainly menacing through a voice and directly action with a filmmaker. The screenplay come courtesy of Chris Pratt, Aaron E. Adamney, and David, with a story credit to also attributed to be Michael Finch and Alex. The filmmaking team also wisely has no ambition to be make its narrative or its antagonist story. Sometimes the villain is just a villain, and a guy with a skull for a face does not have any complex motivation for taking over the ruling fantastical world. Also using the moment when his right hand. Evil sources Evil Lyn appear attracted to be the cruelty. He infinite, while often bumbling her way through hopping up his evil reputation. They are not only appear in sync with one another, varying between the imposing and the incompetent, but also with the film's widely consequences and tone, which typically know how to be latent the more before things go to be dark, tragic or heavy. There is also a clever touch in that the flashback prologue, which takes place on the fantasy planet Eternia, when 10 years old Prince Adam is a walking around incapable of learning proper battle technique or how to be defend himself despite copious amount of the training from Royal Army General and a desire to make his concerned father King Pro depicting the downfall of the realm and the fall into the nefarious clutches of Skeletor. Working in human resources, Adam is rather skilled in his job and learning a new Jupiter, fully believing that most situations can be worked out through talking, something he actually tried to do. Sculpture as part of the film is about knowing when to fight and defend oneself and when not to do. Although it does not stop himself desperately putting out on a notice seeking the sword of power, which ended up on art before Skeletor could wield it and possess the power of a god for a knowledge domain film actually take place on Earth, as Adams had directed to be the sword which also led him to be a reunion with his childhood crush, Teela in the present day, and I Farrell in the opening flashback sequences, and the right back of Photo Eternia for more reconnection and a battle for the fate of the world against Skeletor and his army. These intentionally goofy stories are to teach Adam that simply wielding the sword of power, which also transform him into the traditional Terminator. Is not what makes someone a man fit to be have a kingdom or win over a secret love. Even if it does grant him an enhanced ability, he is a given a hero treatment with which full man fantasy of life that everyone on earth believes is just that even considering he has not done anything special there either. Delivering the message that what someone does with the power granted is far more important than having the power itself. Adam also got to be fired alongside statistical soldier he admired growing up, ranging from a neck scratcher to a human battering ram to be another, with a giant face like the gallery of character that if you know or abuse and firm pointy coat. Give him head the first, said to be dumb, now to be disgraced drunk. Also has a thing or two billion about the tourism, with a character's arc that work in a tandem with Adams. At one point tonight, it's suggested by Adams' boss that is a recollection of his time on Eternia as a coping mechanism for traumatically losing his parents, who may or may not still be alive. But its tantalizing element that was for spirit film would continuously pull on more. The idea of this are real and we are witnessing him and original story is obviously an easier pill to be swallowed and takes away from what could have been an exceptionally dazzling mind bender. Using dance fantasy world to be its advantage to be perhaps also says something about nostalgia and society norms surrounding the perception of during the era and relationship on the term. Thankfully, Masters of the Universe still has something to say about true in a water drawn from presumably to ensure the native has border appeal. Again, give the box office protection, there might be no such thing for this movie. The observation is unfortunate, as even when it takes away from what Masters of the Universe is about, who it is for, and who is care, or just some of the comedy is just funny. This is some sturdy that nicely choreographed action filmmaking, with charm and rewarding effort in the production design. The simple fact that it is a real set built for Eternia, with dozens and dozens of extras in costume, for item to be dismantled across well. Crafted battle scene make all the difference. Master of the Universe is one of 2026 biggest blockbuster film, but it is worth watching. The action superhero movie is based on the 80s toy. We spun it's a one-man animated series, and even a live-action movie for the. I did not actually know much about it aside from the meme that I have seen online. When I watched the trailer, my first thought was it reminded me of Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor Ragnarok, which currently are two of my favorite Marvel films, so I was thinking, I'm gonna enjoy this. I never watched cartoon, I did not always have love superhero film, and I am not actually that into Marvel. I don't hate them, just a bit indifferent. I was kind of curious about Master of the Universe because it looked quite comfy, a bit silly goofy, but I was really entertained during it. I found it really funny, a bit stupid, that always make comment about Adam's thing, which never got old. I wrote this one quote that Skeletor says, Your your long sword dangling between your glorious stars. Nearly 40 years have passed since the colossal financial failure of Corner Films Live, which had for 5 years held unsustainably at its scale like this critic in trial. Before we mostly moved into the other thing. But in metal media, as is a Monsters of Universe, no one ever really dies. The dozens of the castle have since left on. Infinitely ended from Sundry Comic and Toyland Revival and most recently a message of anybody Netflix's content. And so why the maybe this the mentality and color was much Hollywood studio decision making these days. We have come around to be the another live action Masters of Universe feature, bigger in all dimensions certainly, and better if the embarrassed badness of the first one is not especially there to be your heart. Does anyone really need it? If a man movie was missing from the marketplace in 2026, would you note and mourn its absence? A film is so loaded with a joke about its own out of time uncoolness that is occasionally seem to be the applauding for its very existence. I know, but there's a word day when went. Says Flexion varied Adam on identifying his signature sword of the power weapon In an introductory voiceover, Adam, of course, is better remembered as He-Man. The film shies away from that lame moniker until it's a closing the green screen effect or knowing in their outright fakery. The neatness of the whole enterprises is lamb-shaded with a whole set pieces in a comic book store. At a certain point, this wink wink quality feel outdated, but not in a way that recalled the 1980s instead. The early Obama era query of the incessant Marvel cinematic universes comes bravely to be mined. Any sense of good humored humanity in this Masters of the Universe largely dissipated, however, as it was sprawled toward, and then we passed the 2 hour mark. At 141 minutes, it assumed the event status spoiled by its initial air for kidding around. Neither animation behind Leica's inspired stop motion, specular Cubo, and the Cho Spring has formed is a crafting improbably engaging fare from approaching the franchise debris. His sparkly live-action debut, Bumblebee, remains the only Transformers film that is remotely a keeper. His liveliest instincts are finally, however, by a multi-Harry script. Credit to be parties including the Leica's Grace Butler, the Lost Witches Aaron and Adam Nee, an action franchise workforce dev that attempt at once to be Ernest's debut, an ironic stand-up. Can we really care about our hero's battle for the soul of his kingdom while we are also nodding and laughing at his dinky little Lawrence notch? We first encounter Adam as a delicate, low-headed Breton by Eddie Vixen, prince of the idyllic parent Eternia, still overwhelmed by the combat training the foil into be him by his soul warrior. King Ranger, he forms a closer bond with the chief general and his daughter Teela. He is on his own when Eternia is invaded by a skull-faced villain Skeletor, a wholly digitized and a very faithful accented who take his parents' creative successor, manage to be spirit him away to be together with a kingdom crucial sword of power, which he promptly loses in the cosmic fight. And this is a backstory that Adam No a stepping rig has been a tailing of outline for the last 15 odd year. As he attempts to be live a normal office run life will, seeking the spot that can take him back home. When it eventually located, a signal is a beam to be the now grown Chilla to collect him as a last hope for an Eternia, all raised under Scratcher's rule. Masters of the Universe is the most enjoyable as a fish out of water, tail on either side of the planetary divide. As Adams insistence on his otherworldly region, alliances other both at the workplace and on the dating scene. Yet once Adam is a fully is a command of his word, so to speak, and subjected at Bob Brownie, he man make our dad at least spare him to be blank ball cut of the original model. Things get rather less spry. The film's unhurriedly emerges from one markedly similar fight scene to the next, where only Seculator's occasional injections of the ripe to be lamabida bite is particularly out by the Adams now super sad dice, as you probably would be if you were. While Seculator either way, there is a more friction between them. There is an Adam colorless romance with Teela. Incidentally, he is almost entirely absent from proceeding, pending a sequel that is not altogether welcome prospect by the time things finally wrap up here. There are flashes of white and amusing grandeur, principally in a suitably garish production design, which conjures a semblance of medieval splendor, while our forgetting that is a story natural world is a plastic and in a composer Daniel. I had been a faction figure. I got Castle Grayskull for birthday and Snack Mountain the next. I criticized those toys in part because I watched that animated show called He-Man and the Monster Universe, a series that existed because 80s regulation paved the way for an company to promote their ways directly to be visited via TV show. Instead of making the commercial that aired between the cartoons themselves became the commercial. So I feel right that there was a new Seculated action figure watching for me on my seat at the New York premiere or the first Master of the Universe. Within 39 years, that too for the speech before the movie executive, who proudly, from a metal executive, who proudly declared that his famous toy company is now in a business of brand management. I am not sure how much brand He-Man has left to be managed at this point beyond its value to be old. like me who were brainwashed into be loving his goofy hero, and villain like the boss of and Sky Clone, and specifically Stinker, a toy that looked like a stuck skunk man, and true to be his name, smart like rap. That's why this is Master of the Universe's movies exists, to restore his franchise to a place of the prominence and marketability for generations to become. Based on the early word of mouth I have heard, it may just succeed but successful. It's not what I would personally use to be described masters of the universe, at least not creatively. This 140 minutes film, the length of almost 7 film episodes of the cartoon series, conjures a very faithful live-action recreation that the old 80s world of the barbarian, wizards and the robot and proceed to relentlessly mock. The characters are introduced in a lengthy prologue narrated by Prince Adam, establishing the fantasy realm of the Eternia. There's a home of the heroic warriors like a Mechanic, who can carry himself at will, and evil variations like Spiker, who is extremely pointy as a boy. The warm-hearted Adam was taught by the man Atom that the world is a cruel and dangerous place where only the strong survive. Would not you know it? About 3 minutes later, the evil sorceress clatter enters Eternia seeking the sword of power housed in the castle. The castle's own successors sent Adam to Bayard, where he spent the next 15 years in exile, somehow rising to the status nameless corporation despite constantly telling anyone who will listen that he is actually a royal prince from a faraway galaxy who must locate a sword in order to be returned home and defeat a big blue man with a skeleton for a face. Adam finally finds the sword in where else a comic book store filled with vintage metal products and son, his a childhood friend Teela, is back fighting by his side. She brings Adam home to be Eternia for a reunion with Man at Arm and the rest of the surviving hero. And our request to be stopped Skeletor family gets underway. The great Travis Knight files the comic store where the sword of power is hidden with a third nod and uses the snake to be poke up at immature adult hung up on their childhood's obsession. But Adam himself is an immature adult hung up on his childhood obsession. The walls of his bedroom in the apartment in a share with a snarky roommate drank out a wizard and sword. It just so happened that instead of playing with a He-Man toys as a kid, Adam actually was He-Man. The scene of the confusion about whether this movie is meant to be the celebrate a nostalgic happy, a scoff at it for being incredibly childish premature, the entire film. Back in Eternia, Adam united with classic masters of the services character like Rahman and Fisto. The lead to be the exhausting running gag that thread through the rest of the film. A master's character will appear. Adam will explain what we choose to be called them when he was done, while they recall in horror. Adam, name Fisto, for example, wants to make it very clear that despite Adam's nickname for him, he does not fuss people. Parents get ready to be explained to be your kid why he grown ups and choking out a one. If these characters' names are so silly, why not change name? Our user-friend character, costume designer Richard Sell, did a truly impressive job translating the old Master Joy and cartoon into the dimension being, mostly so they could serve as a punching bag for saggy ironic quip about how every Master's Toy sounded like it was named by a child. The movie's messages are equally muddled. Nat decided to make his man a referendum a modern blessed by the king who wanted him to be strong. Adam's quest to be reclaimed the sword of power is partly a quest to be become the He-Man his father always wanted him to be. But Master of the Universe also insists on multiple occasions that might does not make that. To that end, it includes moments where Adam, using his background in human resources, tries to bring early ideas about conflict resolution and negotiation to be his struggle with the Skeletor. He just want to be talk to his enemies rather than punch them, something that Sorceress himself praises when she claimed in one scene that Adam's true power is not true certain but rather understanding and empathy. Later makes a decent Skeletor out of it. He is a generic British